In just a few days, the WWE brand split officially returns. You all demanded for a brand split to come back. Well, I know some of you did. Or did you all not want one? Somebody was definitely asking for a brand split to come back. This Tuesday is the live draft, the first one since 2011. And while there's a lot of speculation and optimism and hope out there for the future, I think we can all agree, in the world of predetermined combat and competition, a draft can have plenty of busts. And this week, I'm going to rank them the top 8 worst WWE draft moves of all time. Number 8. New World Order to Raw, 2002. The inaugural draft was a very exciting thing for wrestling fans at a time when interest in the company began to wane. In a surprise move, Raw GM Ric Flair drafted the entire NWO, not just one or two of the people, but the entire trio of Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and X-Pac. This could have been a good opportunity for the group to reassert themselves following Hulk Hogan's departure, except Scott Hall got fired 2 months later, Kevin Nash got hurt, and the whole damn thing fell apart almost as fast as Kevin Nash's quads. The NWO in WWE, a whole smorgasbord of what-ifs. Number 7. Sin Cara to SmackDown, 2011. For this spot, I was deliberating between this and Kelly being drafted to SmackDown in 2010, and while Kelly being the first overall pick was pointless, Sin Cara's move made a larger, more negative impact. Sin Cara, formerly known as Mystico, was the hot new talent signed to the company, one of Triple H's first pet projects as COO. After a so-so debut on Raw, the faceless one was moved to the Blue brand, where he would get a chance to shine against other high flyers in a controlled setting. But Sin Cara's stock never really improved, getting a 30-day suspension for violating wellness, suffering a knee injury that kept him out of action for 6 months, and oh yeah, botching all along the way. The original Sin Cara fizzled out and is now played by the former Hunico. Number 6. Hassan and Daivari to SmackDown, 2005. It's a total coincidence that Hassan is showing up in my second countdown in as many weeks, but the more I think about it, the more I think that his draft move might have cost him his career. Hassan originally debuted on Raw in December of 2004, but was drafted to SmackDown in 2005. Things went as they did, then the infamous Undertaker attack happened. WWE pulled the plug on the Hassan experiment after UPN raised a fuss, but one could argue the punishment was more severe because UPN was on network television. Had this happened on Spike TV, there still would have been some flack, but I wonder if the company would have been able to get away with it due to cable's more lax standards. Number 5. Bobby Lashley to Raw, 2007. Bobby Lashley was groomed to become the company's next big star, so moving from ECW to Raw was a step in the right direction. So why was it bad? On the night of the draft, Lashley was ECW champion, having just won it back from Vince McMahon a week before. It was the culmination of a 3-month program with Vince, Shane, and Umaga. So after all that build, all that hype, and all that struggle for him to get the belt back, he promptly relinquishes it after being drafted to Raw. There were other ways to build the guy up without totally trivializing the belt, you know. Oh, and on a separate note, this happened. Number 4. The Dudleys are split up, 2002. Tag teams have broken up a lot in the history of these drafts, and this Tuesday will probably be no exception, but this is the one that really sucked the most. In the inaugural draft, Ric Flair drafted Bubba Ray Dudley, and Vince McMahon countered by drafting Devon, breaking up the decorated tag team. Which made Flair look super dumb. Why couldn't he just draft both Dudleys at once? He just drafted the entire NWO minutes before. Bubba Ray had a decent singles run in the hardcore division, while Devon became a reverend. He had a kick-ass theme and a sidekick that would go on to become one of the company's biggest draws, but overall, it was bad for the boys from Dudleyville. The two would reunite a mere 7 months later. Number 3. Triple H to SmackDown, 2004. In the midst of his stranglehold in the main event scene of Raw, which by this point was kind of incorporated into the storylines, Triple H was drafted to SmackDown by GM Paul Heyman. The move was actually kind of exciting. I mean, sure, Triple H would probably do the same thing on SmackDown that he did on Raw, but at least the colors would be different. But it was all an elaborate ruse, as it was reported 1 day later that the H-Man was traded back to Raw for Booker T and the Dudley Boys. The status quo remained. Gah. Number 2. Jim Ross and Michael Cole trade places, 2008. For 2 decades, Jim Ross had the most messed up, abusive relationship with WWE, and this was almost the straw that broke the camel's cowboy hat. During the draft in 2008, a match to determine which show got a draft pick went to a no contest, meaning both brands got a pick. In a move that nobody saw coming, Jim Ross was drafted to SmackDown, while Michael Cole was drafted to Raw. And when I said that nobody saw it coming, what I meant was Jim Ross didn't see it coming. He almost quit the company over this. The look of shock on his face tells the story, folks. Not only was he not informed of the move beforehand, he was also replaced by Michael Cole. It's up to you to figure out which one's worse. And the number 1 worst WWE draft move of all time is John Cena goes to SmackDown and back in the same night, 2011. Man, what is it with everyone not wanting to work Tuesdays? In a shocking start to the 2011 draft, the last one they'd have for 5 years, John Cena was selected to SmackDown after Team Blue won a Battle Royal. Much of the Triple H move, this was a potential game changer, a sign that maybe the company was going to put some stock into the B-Show for once and put it back on par with the flagship. That excitement lasted for about 3 hours before he was drafted back to Raw in the main event. It really was the ultimate symbol of WWE as a whole, so much potential and intrigue and hope for the future. But in the end, Vince McMahon don't give a damn about your hope. Any bad draft moves that I missed? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.